Hello, my name is Sonia and this is video number 14 in my series, The Basics of Crochet, and today we're going to learn about working in the round. So as you can see, I have my little card here and it has the abbreviation for round or round. So if you would see RND or RNDS, you would know that that stands for round or rounds. And today we're going to learn how to work around a chain. There's different ways of working in the round, but we're going to work around a chain today, and we're going to learn how to do that in single crochet and double crochet. And when you're working in the round, it's just like it sounds, you're working around in a circle. So up till now we've been working in rows back and forth, so now you're going to start learning how to work in a circle. And to do that, you're also going to need to learn how to make a slip stitch. So slip stitch, this is the abbreviation SLST, which stands for slip stitch. Another basic crochet stitch, and it's used a lot when working in the round. So that's why we're going over it now. And we're also going to learn about stitch markers as well. So to get started, today I am using an H hook or a 5mm hook, and you can certainly use a G or an I hook, or a 4mm, 4.25mm, or a 5.5mm hook. So I have my worsted weight yarn in a light color. We're going to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 7 to get started. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we have a row of 7 chains, and we want to turn this into a circle. So to turn it into a circle, you are going to need to make a slip stitch, or called joining. So if you're working it around and they would say in a pattern, chain 7, now join to form a circle, you would know that that means they want you to make a slip stitch to form a circle. So how to do that is you're going to take the end of your chain and then join it to the beginning of the chain using a slip stitch. So all you need to do is insert your hook into the first chain you made, just like you were working any other stitch. Yarn over, and you're going to pull through both of those loops. No extra yarn overs, and that you have joined your circle and you've also made a slip stitch. So we're going to do that one more time. So we're going to join or make a slip stitch to form our circle. So insert your hook into your first chain, yarn over, pull through, no extra yarn overs. So now we're going to learn how to work single crochet around this chain. So to get started, we're going to chain 1. You're going to insert your hook in the middle of the circle and yarn over and pull through. So you have your 2 loops. So as you can see, it's looped around that chain. So we're going to do another yarn over, and we have made 1 single crochet around a chain. So what we're going to do here is we're going to talk a little bit about stitch markers, because I want to mark this stitch. Because in single crochet, it's very easy to get confused as to what your stitch is, because the chain 1 can look like a stitch, so you want to keep track of your stitches, because we're going to work 10, so that's when stitch markers can really help you out. So my favorite stitch markers are scraps of yarn. Cheap, economical, lightweight. You can certainly use other things. You can buy stitch markers. There's beautiful ones that people have made. But again, you're just starting out. You're not sure if you want to keep doing this. You don't want to invest in a lot of extra stuff. So I'm a big proponent of use what you have. So I've got lots of yarn. So these are my favorites. An endless supply. And I recommend, if you're going to use scraps of yarn, make sure it's a contrasting color. So you can see this is light, this is dark, really easy to see. So how to place this stitch marker, because we're going to mark this first stitch so we know that it's our first stitch. You're going to insert your hook in the stitch, take your stitch marker, pull through one end. Now this stitch is marked. And another reason why I like to use yarn is it's lightweight. It's not going to pull or make my project sag or anything like that. So that stitch has been marked, so that is 1 single crochet. We're going to work 10, so we're going to keep going around. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 for one more. And we can count these too, because you want to know how to count in the round just as much as when you're working in rows. So we've marked our first stitch, because you can see here in the beginning, like this could look like a stitch or part of your chain. It can get a little confusing, so that's why stitch markers are nice to help you mark it, and you know, yes, this is stitch number 1. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So just as it can be confusing to know what your first stitch is, your last stitch can also blend in to the last. So I often like to mark my last stitch, especially when I'm working in the round as well. So I have another handy little stitch marker, and I just pop that guy through. So now I have my first stitch marked and my last stitch marked. So I know where I started, know where I ended. So now we need to complete round 1, and we are going to join in our first stitch. So we marked it, we know that that's our first stitch, so we can insert our hook, and then I'm going to pull that guy out of there because I know that I'm in the right stitch, and we're going to work a slip stitch to join it. So pull through, and we have completed round 1 of working around a chain, and we're going to work another row of single crochet, and I'm going to want this to lay flat, so I'm going to work 2 stitches in each stitch. So we're increasing, and when you're working in the round you'll do a lot of increasing. Now if you wanted this to kind of cup and curve up, then you wouldn't want to increase as much. If you just worked another row of 10, it would start to curve up like a little cup. But we want this to lay more flat. So to start round 2, we're going to chain 1, insert our hook right in that stitch, and work 2 single crochet. And we can mark this stitch if we want to, so that we know that this is stitch number 1 here, because sometimes things can get a little crowded when working in the round, especially in single crochet. It's really easy in single crochet when working in the round to lose track of your stitches, so stitch markers really can help you out. So that is our first stitch, that is our last stitch. So we're going to continue to work 2, so we're going to have a total of 20. 10 times 2 is 20. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, halfway through, 11, 12. So all we're doing for the second round is you just work a normal single crochet. So you insert your hook into the stitch, just like if you're working in a row. Yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over again to complete your single crochet. And we're increasing, so I'm going right back in that stitch. So I have 2 stitches in there. We'll keep going, and see, I've already lost track of my count, and that's why these stitch markers really help, because I know that this is my last stitch, so I know that this stitch here is going to be 19 and 20. So it just kind of helps you out, so you don't have to think as hard. Alright, so I'm going to pull this guy out because I know he's my last stitch, and work my final 2 stitches for a total of 20. And we can count these guys. So I know this is my first stitch here, And as you can see, it can get a little tricky as to know what's your last, what's your first, because this guy can look like a stitch. So that's why, again, stitch markers really can be helpful, especially when working single crochet. And in other parts of the pattern, or the pattern itself might say place a marker, and there'll be a reason why. So you want to pay attention to that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So we have the right amount of stitches, and I'm not going to place a stitch marker in my last stitch because we're only going to work 2 rounds. So to complete this round, we need to join in our first stitch. So I insert my hook, I'm going to pull that guy out. I'm going to do a yarn over, I'm going to complete it with a slip stitch, pull through, and as you can see, it's laying flat. So we have made 2 rounds. We've worked around a chain, so you can see we worked around it, can't even see the chain, of single crochet, and it's laying nice and flat, and we've learned about stitch markers. So now we're going to learn how to work around a chain and double crochet. So it's the same principle. So I'm just going to quickly undo this guy here, and we'll get going. Now again, if you wanted to keep that as a swatch, or if you wanted to keep going, you could certainly keep going in single crochet and keep working more rounds and playing around with it. That's certainly up to you. We're going to work around a chain and double crochet. So again, we're going to chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to join. So we're going to work into our first chain we made, work our slip stitch, pull through, we're ready to get going to work in double crochet. Now to get started, we're going to chain 3, and again we're not turning, we're just going to keep going around. So our first chain 3 is going to count as our stitch. Now with double crochet it's a little easier to keep track of the stitches because they're a little taller than with single crochet, and we're going to work, we'll see how 10 double crochet are. So we want this guy to lay flat, so if we have to work more, then we'll work more. But we'll see how 10 works out. So we have 3, 4, and again I'm going a little quickly here, so I'm going to slow it down a little bit. We have 4, so we chain 3. So to get started with double crochet around a chain, yarn over, insert your hook in the middle, just like single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, there's your 3 loops, and you can see it's looped around the chain, yarn over to complete. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how 10 are, so we're going to keep going. So do the same thing, put your hook right in the middle there, make sure you do your yarn over first. And this is good practice with the basic crochet stitches and just using a slightly different technique. And when you're working in rounds, you could be making a blanket, you could be making a doily. I mean, there's all different things. So it's good to know these different techniques. So let's see, how many do we have? And working in double crochet around a chain is a lot easier to keep track of your stitches. So they're easier to see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think we'll add 2 more. So you see there's a big gap there before we join, and if we join, that's where the cupping is going to come into play. We want it to be more flat. So we'll crunch those guys back. We'll add, let's see, maybe 2 more, 12, and see if that's a little bit flatter. Alrighty. I think 12 will be okay. So just like we joined with single crochet, we're going to join in double crochet. We're going to join on the top of this chain 3. So you're going to insert your hook, that top of that chain, yarn over, pull through to complete your slip stitch. And we have worked 12 double crochet around, because again we want this to lay flat, for our first round. and we'll work another round. And I did not use a stitch marker because it's a lot easier to know where your stitches begin and end in double crochet. So we're going to chain 3 to get started. For the second row, we're going to work 24 around. We're going to yarn over, we're going to work increase, so we're going to work right in that same stitch, just like so. So we've increased right there because again we want it to be flat, and then we're going to work 2 into the second one for a total of 24. So that's where our math comes into play. Now if you did want it to cup up more, you know, because some people do make teacups and crochet, I've seen them, so you wouldn't want to increase as much. There's all different kinds of things that you can make with crochet. You know, it's pretty much endless. That's why I enjoy it so much. I never get bored because there's always something new to learn or do, or a different technique. So I find it to be really fun. But it's important to have your good foundation, so that's why these basics really come into play. Because if you know how to do these basics, then you know you are ready to just take off and do whatever. You don't have to be held back because you're not sure of how to do something. So we are about halfway through round 2, working in double crochet around the chain. And again, there's different techniques working in the round. So this is just one. And you're probably thinking, okay, there's a hole in the middle. I want to make a stuffed animal or a hat. I don't want to have a hole. Well, there's a technique to take care of that. But some patterns, you know, they might want the hole in the middle. Let's say if you're making a doily, or some people have made rugs or tablecloth, you know, the hole is decorative, so they might want it. So that's why they might say, hey, I want you to work around the chain. So that's why it's good to know how to do it. So we've got 2 more to go, and then we'll count them to see if we do indeed have 24 double crochet. So there is round 2, and before we join it, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So we are doing good here. So we're going to join by using a slip stitch into this first stitch. So we're going to work on the top of that chain, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, we've made a slip stitch to join our round. So as you can see, it's laying pretty flat, and we've made 2 rounds of double crochet, and we started by working around the chain. Thank you so much for watching.